Thought for the day. If I'm a YouTuber, does that make you a YouTube-E? Answers on a postcard, or even better, in the comment section down below. Anyway, hello everybody, I'm James, and I love a Jag. It may have taken me quite some time to realise that fact, and indeed, there's a lot I feel quite bad about. For example, 20 odd years ago, I talked my dad out of buying a Jaguar XJ, specifically an X308 XJR, a car that I'm now considering buying myself. I love Jaguar's combination of classic British looks, amazing power, waftiness, with the occasional bit of sportiness when required. But I think Jaguar may be in serious trouble. Like a much-loved uncle that you haven't heard from in quite a while, I'm beginning to worry as to how healthy Jaguar actually are. So in today's video, I'm going to talk you through what's been happening to the firm, and from my idiot with a little bit of knowledge perspective, why I think the problem really is a pretty big one and maybe unsolvable. Ahead of today's video, I want to say a huge thank you to our headline sponsor, CarVertical, the super-powered super search that cross-references a number of databases internationally, helping you make the best buying decision when it comes to a used car. They'll tell you everything you need to know, including any information about possible mileage discrepancies, accident damage, regardless of whether a car has been written off or not, and other handy stuff, like whether a car has been used as a taxi. If you're thinking of buying something, be it a classic Jag, an old Ford, or maybe a fancy Ferrari, CarVertical is your friend. For a special discount, check out my link in the description or comment section down below. Okay then, on to the topic at hand, and I'm going to begin by taking a look at the current Jaguar lineup, because I really think that shows you how big the issue is. What have we got? Well, there's the F-Type, a fabulous car that really was much needed and injected a bit of drama and animation into the Jaguar brand when it launched. However, that was a long time ago. During its run, the model didn't really change all that much, and now, possibly overdue, it is finally being retired, but with no replacement in sight. Jaguar will very soon be without a sports car of any description. And to many, you say the word Jag, they will instantly think of something like an E-Type, so for the firm not to have a sports car at all, I think is a travesty. Next up, we have the XF, one of the prettiest saloon cars on sale today, but it's also been on sale for far too long, some 8 years now in its current guise, and it's lacking a lot of the things that the traditional Jaguar customer would want. In other words, decent engines. The meatiest version you could get was a V6 diesel. You haven't been able to buy a V8 engine Jaguar saloon for several years, since the demise of the old flagship XJ back in 2019. I drove the XF, and I have to say it's one of the biggest disappointments I've ever experienced. The old first generation car had a lot of charm about it, but the new one really was a little bit cold and far too harsh to drive, and I just did not gel with it. Regardless, at 8 years old, it's really due a replacement, and as far as I'm aware, there is none in sight. Next up, you have the XE, the baby in the lineup. Again, a car with some qualities. It's a fabulous thing to chuck around a bend, but overall, it's a little bit harsh, somewhat unrefined for a Jaguar, and the choice of engines is even worse. The top-of-the-line P300 car has a 2-litre turbocharged 4, and that just isn't an engine fit for a top-of-the-line Jaguar. You need a 6-cylinder petrol at the absolute minimum. The firm have one, but they never put it in the XE or the XF. This is another car now 8 years old and with no replacement whatsoever due. Then we have a trio of SUVs, almost certainly the company's most popular products today. We have the confusingly named E-Pace, F-Pace and I-Pace. The E-Pace is the smallest, the little crossover, the F-Pace quite a bit bigger, and then you have the I-Pace, which is the electric one. The E-Pace really is a bit of an odd duck. It's a fairly small car, to me a little bit too small to be useful. A few people did buy one, but in all honesty, I'm not quite sure why. Unless you're desperate to have a Jag, you can get a lot more for the money from just about anywhere else. And frankly, people in that kind of market segment don't tend to care about badges as much as those paying a little bit more. The F-Pace is a decent thing, particularly in fire-breathing F-Pace SVR guys, but it also has the distinction of being one of the few test cars I've ever had to break down on me and require a call-out from the AA. That was caused by unidentified electrical issues, and though I actually really do quite like the F-Pace, and in the entire Jaguar lineup it's one of the better cars, it also has a lot of competition. Then you come on to the I-Pace, the only all-electric vehicle Jaguar currently sell, which by all accounts is very good. I've never experienced it. I have tried, I have failed, but everyone tells me it's pretty good. Unfortunately, in the time that it's been on sale, Jaguar haven't really done all that much. And when it comes to electric cars, the pace of progress is terrifying. As it happens, Jaguar just announced some updates to the I-Pace, but what they amount to is some different bumpers and a few bits of altered trim. That's it. All of the mechanical specifications remain exactly the same. Battery is the same, motors the same, nothing has changed. The peak charging capacity of this car is 100 kilowatts, and in today's world, well, that's just out of date. Everything can do 150, if not 350 when it comes to the premium segment. Jaguar are falling behind the times very quickly. To be perfectly honest, if it weren't for the fact that they were nailed to the side of Land Rover, I think they would have gone years ago. And happily, the new Range Rover itself, plus the Defender, have apparently been doing very, very well, which no doubt keeps the company going for a little bit longer. Land Rover really have found themselves in an amazing position, if by accident and not design, because their entire lineup consists of SUVs, highly popular ones that are generally well regarded, particularly here in Britain. They've got something to suit most budgets, and even wild stuff that never ever should have done well, like the Evoque convertible, appears to sell. Land Rover and the Range Rover sub-brand has real curb appeal, and I've no doubt that whatever happens to Jaguar, someone will always be interested in Land Rover. That brand is here to stay, and it's certainly here to make some money. Poor old Jaguar are now stuck with a lineup that has no sports car in it, no flagship halo supercar to try and attract interest to the brand, even if it's somewhat superficial. And I suspect all the cars they have that actually sell, in other words, the 4x4s, certainly the E-Pace and F-Pace, are essentially re-engineered versions of Land Rover and Range Rover products. And if I were sat there at a JLR board meeting, I'd be thinking, well, we're spending a lot of time and effort to make these cars when we could just sell more Land and Range Rovers anyway without any extra effort. Why are we supporting this entire brand? The fact is, Jaguar made its name in saloon cars, and saloon cars as a whole have been dying for a very long time. This has been the case now for really close to 20 years, but when it comes to cars for the masses, Jaguar have always been a little bit behind the times. Even when they've tried, say with the S-Type and then X-Type, they haven't really quite understood the brief. The X-Type was supposed to be an affordable Jaguar, the most affordable Jaguar there had ever been. Yet when it launched, it was available only with a petrol V6 and all-wheel drive, at a time when the market was buying two-wheel drive diesels with small engines by the bucket load. They just don't understand how to make a car that appeals to the masses. In truth, for most of the company's life, I don't think that's been a problem. They've been very content to carry on making cars that appeal to their traditional customers. Let's face it, old men who want to buy a nice, big, powerful saloon to smoke about in. Quite literally, in many cases, I'm sure. However, that now is very old hat. And even for those customers who still exist, they're probably quite happy driving around in their old Jags. And the new breed, I don't think really ever appealed to them. Stuff like the XE. I wouldn't want one of those. The new XF. I wouldn't want one of those. The new XJ certainly did appeal. I tried to buy one, it didn't work very well, and though the looks changed quite a bit, it still had enough Jaguar-ness in it, I think, to keep the brand going. But that car got canned in 2019, was then due to be replaced with an all-electric version that I think was a very exciting idea, because here was a chance for Jaguar once again to be a market leader, to do something highly innovative. Because one market that does buy saloons still is the Americans. They love them, and they've also been moving over to electric at a rate that I think would surprise some people. I've just come back from California and Teslas are everywhere there. Whatever reason they have for it, I really don't care, but the fact is, they're buying them. Jaguar had an excellent opportunity here to be one of the first people to market with a luxury saloon EV. And these things certainly can sell. Just look at how well the Porsche Taycan has done. I don't know if the success is going to continue over the next few years, but the fact is, it can happen. And what confused me the most about this whole thing is the fact that in the same year that Jaguar said the electric XJ is no longer going to happen, they also said by 2025, so in just 2 years' time, the Jaguar lineup is going to be all electric. Right now, in January 2023, the firm has one electric car, the I-Pace, that now is somewhat behind the times. What on earth are Jaguar going to do? What is the next step? This is 2 years' time, guys. This is not long at all. You should be announcing stuff this year that's going into production next year, if not end of this year, and people should already be getting really excited about the next Jag. What's in your future, guys? What's coming? Is there an electric F-Type? Is it an electric F-Pace? What's going on? Are you going to do a new electric XJ, but you're not really going to call it an XJ? Tell us. We need to know. We need to know what the future holds, but I'm not really seeing anything out of them.
The motoring press has shown many reports that the firm is working on an all-new bespoke EV platform codenamed Pantera, which will underpin the next generation of both Jaguar and Land Rover products. However, we've also seen the recent departure of Jaguar's CEO after a reasonably short tenure. And if I've learned anything, when that happens, it means that all bets are off. Until an official press release is made announcing a new model and confirming production, there is no guarantee of anything. I do hope there is a plan, but from outside looking in, I can't help but get sense of an air of chaos.
Now, I totally understand Jaguar getting away from the saloon car. Like I say, this is a market segment that's been getting smaller for a long time now. However, it's chiefly been replaced by two things. On the one hand, hatchbacks of many different varieties, and neither Jaguar or Land Rover have any experience whatsoever in that market segment. Secondly, luxury SUVs. For the customers that bought more high-end stuff, that's where they've gone. Now here is where Land Rover do have a lot of experience. In fact, in terms of desirability, they're probably one of the best brands in the world. It wasn't really until the launch of the Cayenne back in 2003 that I would say there was a real credible alternative for the Range Rover that did the luxury and off-road thing equally as well. And the problem there is that, okay, maybe for JLR as a whole, this is not an issue because you have Land Rover, but that leaves the Jaguar side of the business with very, very little to do. After all, how do you then treat the brand? Does it simply become a rebadging exercise? Is Jaguar just a performance subdivision of Land Rover? But that itself wouldn't make any sense because Range Rover are very happy to make sporty versions of their own cars as it is, and they sell very well. They can charge a premium for them. I don't think they could charge any more for sticking a Jaguar badge on the thing. And now we come on to what I think is the biggest problem, the one that I'm not convinced Jaguar can actually get past. They've spent an awful long time trying to hold on to their old customer base, but actually have slowly been alienating them. The sort of person that wanted to buy an old school XJ, by which I mean a 1990s or early 2000s one, was already probably somewhat uninterested in the last generation XJ. Jaguar's products on the whole have been getting faster, lower, stiffer, more uncomfortable, more tech-focused in the last few years, and that really isn't the sort of thing that interests an older buyer on the whole. However, the Jaguar brand is still very much associated with that type of customer, which means for your younger buyer, the new person buying cars, of whom there are less and less every year, the Jaguar brand holds little to no appeal. The fact is, Land Rover, and more importantly Range Rover, is an aspirational brand. Thanks to social media and celebrity culture in general, Range Rovers are still a thing people grow up wanting. People that are not at all into cars want a Range Rover because of what it stands for. Most disturbingly, and this is the bit that may get me into some trouble, JLR really do not know how to engage with new media. I have worked with JLR press department a number of times, and they're lovely people. But on the whole, the feedback I've had from my fellow YouTubers is that they are one of the more difficult companies to work with. And this is from people that love the brand, love what it stands for, love the products. But the company just doesn't seem to understand the value of new media. They're still stuck in a 1980s mindset. They don't get it. They don't know how to try and appeal to a new audience. And I really, truly hope that somewhere at Jaguar, someone is writing down a list of all the YouTubers, TikTokers, Instagrammers, and whatever else is going to come next us that will be helping them promote the next product. Because they really are going to need all the help that they can get. And I really do hope that Jaguar's next products are going to be a genuine Jaguar. They're going to stand out. They're going to be different from whatever it is that Land Rover are building. Because if it isn't, well, to be honest, I think everyone's going to look at it and go, oh, the new Jag. It's just a Discovery with some bells on and an extra 10 grand on the price tag. Don't think I'll bother, because they'll know you're going to get the same poor service, and customer service really is an issue for JLR as a whole, the same performance, unless they do something a little bit different, you're just going to pay more for it. And if there's anything I can say about your customer today, it's they're getting very, very careful about how they spend their money. So trying to charge extra for a badge isn't going to work anymore. Now, this is not to say that things are a foregone conclusion for Jaguar. I still think there is time, but there's not a lot of it. What I'd love to see from them next, actually, would be a replacement for the F-Type, because that, in the entire portfolio, is the car, I think, that's the most Jag. They've already said they're not going to build a new all-electric XJ. Fine, that was one of your flagships, the F-Type is the other, and I think that should see a replacement, because that's an exciting car, that's an interesting car, that will also have some healthy competition from the all-new electric Cayman and Boxster, and I really would like to see Britain have an alternative to your classic German sports car. But I do worry that Jaguar are going to do the fairly predictable thing. They'll look at F-Type sales, which no doubt have been dwindling for a long time, on account of the fact that the model didn't change. So if you wanted one, you bought it about 8 years ago, and they'll say, yeah, no, there's no interest in sports cars anymore. Well, it's about more than that. It's about brand building. You need to get the excitement back around Jaguar. The F-Type did it once, so the new F-Type, or G-Type, I suppose you could call it, Merc might have a problem with that, would be a cool thing to have. Then follow up with a series of badge-engineered, let's be honest, Land Rover, Range Rover sort of spin-offs. That, I think, is fine. I would like to see a saloon stay in the lineup. A hatchback would be very exciting. An electric XF would be very exciting. But you need something. And that really is the crux of this video. You need to do something, Jaguar, because all I've seen thus far for the last year is the things that you're not doing. A few months ago, they teased an exciting new announcement that a few people thought was going to be the Project 9, the successor to the crazy no-roof Project 7 F-Type derived car and the mighty Project 8, the XE with the V8 up the front, all stripped out and track-focused. Yet instead what we got was an F-Pace with some purple paint, a throwback to an old 1980s race car that we all know and love, but has just about nothing to do with an F-Pace. I don't get it. I really, really don't. If I were Jaguar, I'd currently been trying to stuff that big 5-litre V8 into absolutely everything that I have that I can fit it in, and shift as many as I can while I can, foster some goodwill while I work on the electric stuff. Give us something to really be excited about. Tell us you've still got interest in making stuff that appeals to petrol heads, and hopefully a lot of us will then give you a chance when you move over to electric. But as it stands, all I see is a brand that doesn't really get its current customers and has absolutely no idea how to get new ones. Good luck, Jag. You're gonna need it. And I promise all of you watching that I think by the end of this year, we're gonna know whether Jaguar will survive or not. They've set the deadline. They've said 2025, entire lineup, all electric. Let's see what happens. Your predictions, let me know, because mine, I don't know, doesn't look so good. But I really hope I'm massively wrong, because I don't want Jag to go anywhere. I've only just started realising how good they are. I'd be sad if they went now.